Welcome, everybody. Good morning. The Arts Council for Monterey County welcomes you to our quarterly professional development program, BusinessWorks, Solutions for Busy Creatives. And I am Karen Lee Garcia, the Chief Programs Officer. And today I'm pleased to welcome our muralist, Timothy Robert Smith, who I see is here. And we're still waiting for MJ Lindo and Joshua Lawyer to hop on. And then also a couple of members of the Neta Mural Team will be joining us today too. And this conversation is called Mural Talk, Planning and Proposing Large-Scale Projects. This is a part 2 of this conversation. This conversation started last year. We had an opportunity to speak with this group. So just to give a brief summary of the project. So we're here to talk more about the completed Salinas-Alisal Vibrancy Neighborhood Beautification Project on Highway 101, which is a partnership between Caltrans, City of Salinas, and the Arts Council for Monterey County. And this project is part of the Clean California State Highway Beautification Program, which was launched by Governor Newsom. Clean California invested $1.1 billion statewide to clean up trash and debris, beautify community gateways and public areas along, I don't know what's going on. I hope everybody sees me here. Beautify community gateways and public areas along highways, and to provide good jobs to thousands of Californians. This Clean California project goal was to revitalize 3 blighted undercrossing structures in the adjacent landscape, resulting in a more visually pleasing highway corridor and a more inviting, vibrant entryway into the Alisal Street, East Market Street, and Sanborn Road neighborhoods. And the project also improved lighting for safety and updated landscaping. So I want to introduce to you the muralists and mural teams that were working on these projects that were completed. And we had a ribbon cutting for that last month. So first up is Timothy Robert Smith. And Timothy Robert Smith is an oil painter, muralist, and multimedia artist using realistic techniques to investigate the nature of perception. His work fuses together multiple perspectives into a kaleidoscopic vision, playing with our understanding of time and space. He is known for his murals that combine realism with shifting perspective techniques. The theme behind all of Smith's work is the diversity of perception, a study of how the world is interpreted from different vantage points and how these individual views work together to form an agreed upon picture of the universe. Dramatic angles and unique perspectives capture the viewer's attention, while enigmatic storylines inspire further investigation. And his work has been shown in solo exhibitions at museums, TEDx conferences, and several galleries. And he's been featured in media outlets that include Juxtapose, Artillery, NBC, and KCRW. He has created public art around the country, including an interactive art installation at the Museum of Art and History in Lancaster. And Timothy, can you come off mute for just a second, just so you can also share the other muralists that worked with you on your project?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I think I saw Jesus was here.
Oh, yep,
right?
he's here. Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Yep. Hey, what's up? So Jesus worked with me, and also Monty, who I don't believe is here today. But yeah, we did it. We worked out there for about a month and painted long hours every day and made it happen.
Yeah, that's great. So next up, I just want to introduce MJ Lindo Lawyer and Joshua Lawyer. And MJ and Joshua are a married couple, and they were both the art kid in school, obsessed with creating. As the children of immigrant parents, they know firsthand how impactful public art can be. As a child, MJ was forced to move frequently due to the Civil War in Nicaragua. When her family relocated to Toronto, Canada, she was captivated by the murals she saw riding the subway. And meanwhile, 2,600 miles away in East Palo Alto, California, Joshua grew up in a strong Tongan culture. Although beautiful and rich, pursuing the arts was not a traditional Tongan career path. And Joshua found inspiration in his life's passion in the Bay Area graffiti and street art scene. When self-taught artists MJ and Joshua painted their first mural together, they were immediately hooked. Since then, they have created multiple large-scale public artworks for communities across the country. And I want to welcome MJ and Joshua.
Hello, everyone. We're excited to be here. It's a little we're on a different we're in Seattle right now on site, so it's a little like loud in here, but we're very excited to be here regardless. And yeah, thank you guys all for being here.
Thank you. And did you want to quickly acknowledge, was there any other assistance that you brought into your project?
Yeah, we had Jesus and Monty help us out for a few of the days, which was they're amazing artists as well. They're both they were super helpful. And I think we had Neta also help us for a couple of the days.
Okay, wonderful. And then perfect intro into the Neta Murals crew. Just want to briefly read their bio to you. This is a team that is composed of Arsenio Baca, who's here on the call, Gerardo Zambrano, Natalio Carrazzo, Avelino Santoyo, who I do see, Santoyo Hernandez, who I see here, and Cisa Villa, who is also on the Zoom too. So thank you all for joining. And Neta is a term that affirms that which is real. They pride themselves always being real with their art. Working as a team of 5, the art they produce together is never a single mind's vision, but rather a product of our collective perceptions. Our art is formed through that sense of community. Public art brought us together. We strive to create art that expresses not only who we are, but also the communities we collaborate with and serve. It is our mission to create murals that elevate and expand the imaginations of all who experience them. So welcome all of you to our BusinessWorks conversation. And now you're going to hear mainly from the muralists. I have a couple of questions that I just want to go through. Again, this is our part 2 of this conversation, kind of the final wrap up. And I'm going to start off by asking you guys to kind of go around, and you don't all have to share, but I kind of want to have, I'm curious about if there were any, unexpected or unanticipated aspects of the Caltrans beautification project that were just like completely outside of your normal, mural experience, is, obtaining licenses, any additional fees, kind of getting into the nitty gritty of the behind the scenes of this type of large scale work. And, what did you experience that was just completely outside of the norm? You can take yourself off mute and jump right in.
Yes, I'll start. My name's Arsenio Baca. I'm part of La Neta. And yeah, I mean, one of the biggest hurdles and just new things that I'm sure we've all dealt with was just working with the state entity and a contractor and just being subcontractors underneath that. It was just a lot of paperwork, a lot of payroll things that we were unaware of that just, it's tricky, when you're working with taxpayer money, there's a lot of bureaucracy behind it that you just got to make sure and get through the red tape. And it was a big learning experience for all of us. I feel like it's just stuff we never. Certified payroll is a beast that I'm sure none of us had dealt with before, and still navigating those waters. But it's good to know. I think even though at times it was a bit of a headache, it definitely is something that going into these projects again, I feel a lot more confident taking on these bigger projects, knowing what I know now. So sometimes you just kind of got to go through the murky waters to figure it out, and we definitely did on this project, but I think we're better for it.
Thank you, Arsenio. Yeah, I do recall there was like an email at one point that, you have to get this license, and I just, wow, there was a few of those, probably more that I wasn't even privy to. So I'm curious if anybody else had any other experiences that they want to share that were just like completely new to them.
Well, I think, one of the things is what you realize as a muralist is that every single location is going to have this aspect of learning. Like, no matter if you're in a tiny little indoor wall in a place that's like got all the bathrooms and all the amenities, you still learn something from every single job you do. So, obviously this job being large scale is no different, and probably even more so like exponential learning almost. Like one of the things that we didn't realize is like making sure like how Arsenio was saying, these state entities have their own processes that us coming as outsiders aren't aware of. So I think that that's like a learning curve as well, where you walk into a new group that you're working with, and you're going to have to try and learn their processes. And it's one of the things I learned is to ask them, hey, what are your processes? If we need to adapt or anything like that, what are the processes prior to being in the job and trying to adapt in that moment, if that makes sense. For example, like if you needed something changed, or if you wanted to add something to your wall, there's a process for that. Whereas maybe at a different wall, you can just kind of go for it. But because it's a state, or because it's city, as opposed to just doing a wall at a school or something, you would have to, go through a proper set of channels in order to make those changes happen.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing. Was there anybody else who wanted to chime in on this particular?
Yeah, I
question?
could talk. I think, yeah, every spot's different. The one thing that I'm gonna remember about this particular like site is we had these really steep hills that we had to kind of dig holes in to make steps. Like, so we basically made our own staircase to get the side panels done, and then we had to fill it back up with like the dirt. But every time, like I was doing a big portrait, it was this big face on this side like triangular shaped wall, but I had to stand on like the dirt, and every time I would do like another part of the face, like some like light fade that goes from left to right, like I would have to actually dig a new hole to shift like throughout the face. So that was a new experience, and a new challenge to deal with, was that particular like location. Just digging holes every time you move. Yeah.
No, thanks for sharing that. I had no idea how you guys were getting up on the side of those side panels. So thanks for sharing that like practical thing. You're like digging holes to get up to the space. So that's great. And I'm going to move on to another question. So, you guys operated differently in terms of your, how your businesses were set up. So some of you are set up as, independent artists, as independent contractors, and then others are businesses LLC. So were there any, was there a difference in operating this project with those different entities? And then, how did that affect like getting your licenses, the DIR, hiring subcontractors, that kind of like, detailed information that'll be helpful for our audience.
Well, Karen, to be very frank, we're still figuring that out. We're still in the middle of that, at least like us, we're still in the middle of trying to figure, those things out.
So our entity is an LLC. Right?
An S corp.
S corp. So we're a corporation, and I think what happened was there was a lot of kind of on the fly. Oh, you need to do this really quick, and early on, we were doing things as the artist and then having to rewind and then go, oh, well, you guys should have done it as the corporation. But there wasn't too much clarity. And I think those things were kind of little hiccups. And yeah, so those are the kind of difficulties, but I don't know, other than that.
Well, I think it's difficult on the administrative side, like on the other side, trying to manage and get paperwork done correctly for groups of people that are all different types of businesses. So I think that there, there's going to be a lot of learnage in there. And I really don't know if there's a way to like fix that issue or expedite it. I mean, it is what it is, I think it's just, as artists, you have to realize that you are a business and that you will have to provide certain things to organizations.
Mhm. No, I think I don't know if you did at the time, but even like being able to, in the future, know what those steps were, because hopefully down the line, state of California will fund projects like this at this large scale level, we're hoping. And those processes, you could be a resource, either applying again, or even with other muralists that, may need that support. And, this is how we handled it. This is what needed to be done. Thank you for sharing. Was there anybody else who wanted to chime in on that particular kind of, working as an independent contractor, or if you have your businesses set up?
Yeah, kind of going along with MJ and Josh said, we're an LLC, so and a main reason why we're doing that is for projects particularly like this, where we can, use the business as our main hub for, dealing with contracts and dealing with all that. So it was interesting going through this project to see how, we had to work with what we were given. And, in hindsight now, looking back at it, it's just definitely important to know what your business entails and just having a good knowledge, even if you have to consult with a lawyer or whatever, just to make sure and understand what best protects you as the artist. Because I think that's something that I've learned through this process, is just making sure to advocate for the artist. And for my team, it was just very important to always speak up and ask questions, especially with these bigger entities. Sometimes you just think, oh, we just got to do what they say. But, a lot of times I learned was that everyone's trying to figure out how to do this. I think this whole project was very new to everyone involved, not just us. So I learned that it was very important to just keep asking questions, keep getting the best understanding of every step of the way. It's particularly with the contracts, it can be very confusing, and it's best to just speak up, get the answers that you need in order to just best protect yourself and from, in our case, my whole team. But that was very important to learn those things.
No, thank you for sharing that, Arsenio. I do recall now a couple emails coming in. You were advocating really strongly for your team and the other artists that were a part of this project. So thank you again for doing that. It was very important at that time. So so moving on to, once the mural process started, or even before that, well, prior to you starting, there actually was a community event, and that was kind of unique to this project. But it was really important to bring in the voices of the Alisal community. This was a event that took place November of last year, and I do recall, there was a lot of feedback that came in from the community about making different changes to the murals. And I know those different changes were implemented into what became the final murals. But once the project started, I'm curious just to hear from all of you, you know, how did you engage with the Alisal community? Any stories that you particularly want to share? I know one time when I went to visit, there was just, I mean, people honking their horns, yelling out of their windows, just like so thrilled that these murals were going up in their community. And so I would love to hear from you.
Yeah, I could start. So people were really enjoying watching us paint, and then watching the painting itself evolve from just a gray wall to a blue wall to a painting with a bunch of stuff happening. And yeah, like people would drive by, honk. Sometimes they would even like give us gifts. You know, people brought coffee, juice, water, pastries. And yeah, like for us, it was definitely like an honor to be welcomed in the community, and to be able to do something that's going to be up for, you know, a long time. And we had to get it right. Like, I mean, it was a design that I created that was about like this weird perspective from seeing underneath the floor looking up, right? And then half the mural was like in the fields, and then half the mural was in the city. But there's so many like specific details that the community helped me with, and people had a lot of feedback, like through emails and then also in person at the event. And that feedback really made the mural better. It really, like my initial design didn't change too much, but the details did. And the more specific and specifically accurate things got, the cooler the painting was, and the more meaningful it was to the people that live there. So yeah, I was really happy to talk to the locals, and especially when we were painting, I had some really good conversations with people. So yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you. I don't know if MJ, yeah, you guys had a really couple powerful stories to share.
Yeah, I think that you know, it's definitely an experience where we feel like fully immersed in the community at this point. Like even when we've gone back, there's a couple like restaurants that we would go to that was recommended by some locals, and then we would see the same locals there, so it felt like they're like, oh, you guys, what are you guys doing in town? And we would run into random people that we had met there. But I think that some of the more like heartwarming stories is one particular one, which I don't remember if we've shared, but there was a lady that was working at our hotel that had seen like actually all like the workers at the hotel had to go through the murals and had seen the progression. And one of the cleaning ladies had started crying because she had just been so moved that we took the time to come to the Alisal and to brighten up her, you know, where she comes through every day to go work. And those are the stories that really kind of stick with you, because it makes you kind of slow down, because you're working these like 15-hour days. You're trying to get the walls done, and then you realize that this is impacting people's lives in a very deep and meaningful level, that it's more than just like painting something on a wall, which we understand that we put ourselves into the designs and into our work, but then to like feel it on such a personal level is like super rewarding, and then really kind of puts it all into a nice bow, because you realize how impactful it is to the people that are living there, and how it like truly changes their life and brightens it up.
I think also like Lynetta kind of set the tone, with just demanding that we kind of prioritize it. And I think that kind of really set the tone as far as like the engagement with the community and how important that is.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And if anybody from Neta wants to chime in. Okay, let's see if we can get C unmuted. I see she's working on it. Let's see.
I'm hoping she could get unmuted because I'd love to hear her voice.
I know, me too.
But while she's working on that, I'll just kind of, the one thing that stuck out to me was new on this project. So part of our project was to we were working around previous murals that were already there, and we helped, or we did our best to refurbish them and get them updated. And what was really cool on this project was that one of the artists that worked on the previous murals ended up walking by just and checking it out, and he was talking with us, and it just like that was really reaffirming because we didn't get a chance to really, particularly that wall, we didn't get a chance to talk to the lead artist on it. He wasn't available during the mural, and so it was just interesting because we were just doing what we thought was best for it, just cleaning up the color, but we didn't really know if we were doing it justice. So to have one of the artists come and talk to us and just be very appreciative, and like he just gave us so many compliments and just was just awesome to talk to. And he was definitely like an OG in the community. Like he's been around there his whole life, and just to give us the props and to give us his blessing, basically, that what we were doing was beneficial to their project and then to the community. It was very rewarding to hear that, and that was something that was unique on this project particularly because I've never done anything like that before, so it was really cool.
And what was that artist's name, Arsenio?
Oh,
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
I can't. Yeah, he only gave me his first name.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't the lead artist. The lead artist on that wall is Arturo Banuelos. And I might have gotten his last name wrong there, but Arturo. And he had, I guess, a couple of assistants, and this guy was one of the assistants. And yeah, for the life of me, I can't remember his name. Maybe Avelino, or see if she can figure out her audio. Sign language. Use sign language.
We feel you in the room, C. Sorry you can't unmute.
Okay, do you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's Jesus Bolaños. Arturo Bolaños, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that, and also I have an experience with the business by Lisa. There is a people who run the tire mechanic stuff where we leave the lives there by on the side. And he was recording everything when we get there. So, and he was telling me that he was before, when 20 years ago, when the other artists did the mural. So he was really appreciated, and he got everything, on him. He feels so happy that we was doing the restore of the mural. So, I mean, and all his friends who come and enjoy him to just watch us how we paint. That was, I mean, to me, it was really awesome that these guys 20 years ago see what happened before and now in real life, like what we're doing. It. So that was really beautiful.
Thanks for sharing that, Avelino. And so we're going to shift gears a little bit more into some more of the practical, behind the scenes parts, and just curious about, what were some of your best practices on the mural, and also lessons that you're transferring to new proposals and projects. And this could even be like how you source your paint, and just things like that are going to be helpful to our audience. A lot of our audience right now are those that are either currently muralists, artists, those who are curious about being a part of this world of public art. And so this is important details for them.
Karen, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry, the initial question one more time?
Sure, just like some of the best practices that you want to share with the audience about, how, things that you learned during this process, or just things that you've always done. And also, any lessons that you've learned that you're transferring to new proposals and new projects.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. I think one of the most important things in this line of work is that you don't realize how dangerous it can be. So I think that it's so important to and this isn't just particular to this project. This one of my friends fell off of a scaffold earlier this year and broke her hip. And she's been doing this for 25 years. So it's something that we came into this job, obviously Josh is, we're both OSHA certified. Josh has been working with OSHA for years. So we're always prioritizing safety. But even more so, we were under a freeway. There was a lot going on. I think being safe at the end of the day is so important with this work because, it's murals. People are oh, we would get people that would be oh, can I come help you guys paint? And it's no, please. And it's so hard to try to explain to them that it's dangerous work because you just look like you're painting a wall, but it's so dangerous. And we're working with heavy machinery. One of the things on this job is that we always had to have what's it called? No,
High vis.
High vis. When we were out projecting at night, you had to change. They had different levels of high vis. So, you would have during the day, you had to always have your vest.
This is high visibility clothes.
Yeah, because we're
yeah, and then there's the regs about the city, but in general, I mean, yeah, safety is something that you can always get better at and learn. And then on top of that, yeah, it's just super important. I think one of the things that we neglect as artists, because we just want to go and paint the wall. But on top of that, I would say, as far as the question, one thing I really try to think about when creating murals is for the artist out there is really making sure that when you're designing for a mural, that you're designing with the idea that you're going to have to make those marks on a wall. I think that might be helpful for people. A lot of times, you're designing on a tablet or in a sketchbook or whatever. At some point, you can do a paintbrush mark. That's will take you 1 second to do on a design, but to do that in scale can be extremely difficult. So always being intentional with how you're designing, with the idea that that's going to have to scale and being very intentional on that, because if the end result kind of, at least for me, doesn't live up to the design or isn't better than the design, then I feel like I let the design down. And a lot of times that comes down to being real intentional with how you design for a wall and thinking, okay, how will I make these marks? How will I create this feel? How will I create these colors? Sometimes colors are an issue. So it's all about really being intentional with the designing process before attacking the wall. That way, when you get to the wall, you're already prepared to do it justice.
I have so many questions now that you said that. I'm oh my gosh, that could be a whole other workshop about designing and scaling. And wow, thank you for sharing that. Anybody else want to chime in on this topic? It's just, best practices, lessons that you learn, things that you're putting into new proposals and projects that you're currently working on right now.
I could say something. Vibing off what MJ and Josh were saying about the danger of it. One thing that is really interesting for me as a muralist is when you work for 15 hours straight and you're totally locked into this image, it's kind of a hypnotizing process, right? You use a different part of your brain, and it's very this work driven focus where you're just staring at this imaginary image, trying to make it look as realistic as possible. and you kind of get lost there, right? But you have to keep switching back and forth between the reality that's behind you. And in my case, it was like a really busy street, so there's like, you know, semis and like really fast cars and motorcycles swerving around, and they're like, you know, just a few feet away from where you're standing. So it's almost like two realities are happening at once, and you just have to be aware of like both realities simultaneously. So for me, yeah, that's kind of the fun and dangerous part of this lifestyle.
Thank you.
Going along those same lines too, I think it's so important to be very confident in your artwork as you go into these pieces, particularly with public arts, big projects like this. There's so many other variables that you got to think about. Like for us, one of our lifts broke down mid-project while we had a lane closure. And, you know, it's just a big curveball that was thrown at us in the middle of the project. And things like that happen all the time on projects like this. So I think it's super important to be as prepared with your artwork and just do as much as you can to really be confident in the art itself, so that when these unforeseen obstacles come, it doesn't deter you with your artwork. It's very easy when things go wrong for you to get down and to just like it starts affecting the artwork. But I feel like as long as you're prepared, you've done your paint studies of the piece, and you know your artwork, and you know you can get it done. When things that you don't see coming happen, you can kind of adapt and still be able to get the job done. And I just think that's super important to have prepare for as many things as you can, and just you know, try and be ready for things to go wrong, because inevitably they will.
Right. Thank you, Arsenio. And we just have a couple more questions, and I do want to leave just a couple minutes at the very end for if anybody else has any questions. You can leave it in the chat, or I'll let you know when it's time to unmute. But you know, I just want your thoughts on, you know, including public art in these type of large scale transportation projects. You know, when you know, Caltrans approves these kind of projects to improve landscaping and lighting. You know, it's kind of, you know, this is new to be including these large scale, really, you know, putting this large investment into public art. So I just kind of want your thoughts on, you know, and you know, how this transforms communities. What's your experience? Because you guys are out there. What do you feel? You know, the takeaways it is for the communities. You kind of touched on it before, but I just want to know if you have anything else to share on that transformation that you see with public art for these large transportation projects.
So Karen, I was wondering if I could go really quickly back to the last question really quickly.
Sure.
Because I feel like there was one part we kind of left out, which I think safety is super important, and like designing is super important. But I think one other big part for like any artist trying to get into this work is like the business end of things, specifically like getting really good at applying the jobs. I think a lot of times as artists, you can get into the mindset of like, why aren't people reaching out to me and giving me jobs? And I think a lot of times you need to go out and chase them. And then on top of that, like one thing we did that was really helpful for us in regards to applying to things was MJ was a panel for a art call, and which he read a bunch of RFQs people submitted, and we were able to kind of see like, oh, this person, you kind of really quickly see like, oh, this person, they really are professional, and this person, oh, they're really captivating, and this person, they're really, you know, they really have a way of explaining things that really draws you into their work. And once you kind of start to understand like, oh, now from these 100 applications, I immediately drawn to these 10, and it can really give you an idea of how important it is to explain yourself and to be able to talk about your work in a way that I think is really helpful for you to get those opportunities that a lot of artists are kind of seeking. And I think, and then once you have that, then having the ability to kind of be safe and execute the job are like the next thing. But I think a lot of times for artists when they come up, kind of finding the opportunity is the real big issue. So if you can, you know, like learn about RFQs and think about it like how to be unique to yourself and how to be, I think being professional allows people to trust you as well, to do the job. All those things are super important just to get your foot in the door, which I think a lot of times is the hardest thing.
Mhm. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that perspective. That's really important to share that. See, I don't know if you can unmute. I see you are back here in the room. You can, I would love to have you, there you are. Yay.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry. What was the question?
Well, I just didn't know if you had anything you want to share about, well, you can chime in on anything, but if you wanted to share, you know, any particular stories, takeaways from the community engagement piece, or just kind of how you've seen in your experience how public art is transforming communities. It's kind of broad, but just your
I
perspective.
mean, that's good. That means I can just yeah, I mean, for me it was personally, it was just a huge thing to do because, you know, the LSL is the community that embraced me when I first moved to the peninsula. Like when I first moved down here, right down the street from LSL Street, like I drove through there all the time. And it's funny because even at the time, I didn't really quite notice the murals are already there. You know, they were vandalized, they were covered in dust, they were dead. Not dead, but you know, they needed some love. And it was just really cool getting that feeling of being able to give back to the community that opened the doors. And not only that, like just like I was gonna talk about how we met one of the guys that helped out to do one of those murals, and just like the love and support from the community, people's people's reactions to just noticing that there were murals there already when they have lived there their whole lives in a way, because they have been so, you know, people who would stop and like just like thank us very from, you know, for just no, that's just really happy to be able to give back to that particular community. For me particularly, too many, I mean, you know, we had our fun little stories too, you know, but just the amount of love it was palpable. I mean, you could at least hear it from the freaking cars honking, that's for sure. So no, it was good. It was a good time.
Yeah, thank you, C.
Okay, back to mute.
Thanks, C. So, you know, this project's ended, so I just kind of want to hear from you guys. What are you guys working on right now? I know some of you guys have been kind of around the world and back. So what's going on?
Right now we're in Seattle working in their International Chinatown district. This is a project that we actually were trying to coordinate right after Salinas, but things just kept on kind of getting moved around. So we're trying to chase the weather here. We have some like rough weather days coming up here. So right now it's nice, but we're hoping, I think there's like a day of rain, but that's not too bad. But yeah, I think we're just lucky that there's usually snow here, I think, at this time of year, and it just happens not to be. So we're just taking the chance to be here, and hopefully the weather treats us well.
Thank you. And Timothy?
Yeah, I finished a piece recently for Jacksonville. It's like this NFL mural for the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was like a printed mural, which was really fun. So that means I got to paint it here in LA in my studio and take like a really high quality photo of it. And then they blew it up to like 400 feet. It's like 400 by 25, and they did a vinyl wrap and they put it on like plexiglass. And I flew down there a couple weeks ago, and you could see it from the freeway, which is pretty fun. So that was a weird project because I had never done a mural that big, like 412 feet by 25. And painting it small and knowing that it's going to be blown up was really like a mind trip, you know, like to get all the perspective working and everything. And then also I didn't know until I saw it that the mural is mostly going to be viewed by people that are driving on the freeway. So it's kind of like a real fast punch. So it's like this long image, the story, but you see it in like a matter of seconds. So yeah, that was a really fun project. And what else? I did a piece up in Redwood City for a restaurant. That was a polytab mural. If anybody wants to know about polytab, I could tell you some info. Basically, polytab is like a canvas, so you could paint anywhere in the world and fly down and glue that canvas to the wall. So it saves a lot of time, like being on site. So that's a really helpful thing for a lot of muralists that do, you know, stuff all over the country or all over the world. Like, yeah. So if anyone has any questions about polytab, you can ask me after this.
Thank you, Timothy.
Yeah.
And Lanetta, anybody want to chime in on what they've been working on lately? What's coming up?
I just saw somebody ask if there were any interactive murals. Left a blank for kids to color in with chalk. That's pretty interactive, I feel like. But that's about it. I don't know. I just saw that question popped in. What's going on? The team has a few different projects happening right now. The team is kind of divided into like a few projects, but the other thing that we will be doing soon is that's a little bit out of the mural realm. We're gonna be doing the Illuminato exhibit at the museum in December. If
Oh,
you know, y'all want to come and
congratulations.
check that out.
Congratulations.
But
I
yeah,
did not know that.
but yeah, there's a couple murals going on, and then yeah, we'll be a part of that exhibit as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we've got a couple that we're gonna be doing in Salinas. One that Karen, you've been very instrumental in helping us prepare for at the city center, which we appreciate all your help with. And I was just in Memphis myself painting for a mural festival out there, which my first time to Tennessee, and it was a lot of fun. Met a lot of art. They had over 100 artists participating, and it was so cool to be in a community artist for a week and just hang out. And they did a lot of things to keep us all engaged with each other. And one of the muralists from Memphis is actually painting here in Sand City right now for the mural festival going on. And so it was cool for us to connect over in Memphis and then him to come over here and be in my hometown. So it's been fun. It's been fun to connect with artists, and as I get to travel more, you know, it opens up a lot of possibilities. And I think that's important for artists to be able to get out there and see different communities, especially public artists. I think it's important for us to see how we can affect different communities in different places. That's been huge for me personally. So.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. So I want to just open up. There's a couple of questions, and I'm gonna just maximize the last couple minutes of our time together. So there is, I don't want to mispronounce your name, Rika Smith de la Luz. Had a question. They've been commissioned to design a mural that will be intimately composed of time, not hand-done mosaic, but computer-generated pixelated composition. Anyone have experience with this, and any recommendations? And I don't know if you want to unmute and maybe explain a little bit more about that particular mural. I don't know if they're still there. All right.
What do you, well, I was
No,
gonna say, what do
they-
you
Oh,
mean
hi.
by,
Oh,
I'm
there they
sorry,
are.
I'm here.
There
I
they
couldn't
are.
find the thing. Yeah, so I've just been commissioned to design it, not install it. They're remodeling public restrooms, and it'll be, so there's a company, at least if that's what the contractor chooses, which is, I'm kind of not there yet, who can take an image, any image, and turn it into tiles. So they have like a computer program that will select the colors and place them into like grids. But I've never done anything like this, so it's not directly on there. I've seen some examples on their website, but not in person. So I'm just wondering if anybody has any experience with this sort of thing. The only other thing that I've seen that seems kind of interesting, because it's larger, there's a huge mural on Highway 1, like near Soledad or past Soledad, like on the side of a barn, and that looks like it's composed of tiles, but that looks like more like it's more either directly printed or painted on in the fire. Yeah.
Any advice for this artist?
I'd say do as much research with the company, talk with them as much as you can, see what their process is, and just as the more you know about what they're doing, I think it'll better serve you. I wish I'd had any experience with something like that, but that sounds pretty wild. So yeah, I say talk to the people who've done it. It sounds like that's something that they have a company that has done that before, so I would just communicate with them directly and see if you can get some insight into how the process works, and I think that'll help you out a lot.
There's also a group here, like not here, back where we're at in Santa Rosa called Art Start. They're like a community group that works a lot with teens, and I worked with them in my teens, and they did a lot of mosaic murals. I was never a part of them, but I would see them kind of working on it because we were all in the same area. So they might be a good resource as well. And I can link it here. I just remember they would have a bunch of the kids like cutting tiles with their hands and like putting different tiles in groups as far as colors go, and kind of like,
I think that wouldn't be her.
yeah, I don't know. That's all I know.
I would say that, yeah, you would also want to just like learn what are the limitations, and what are kind of maybe like issues they've run into before. Just to kind of, yeah, like kind of what Arsenio was saying, just like understanding the processes as good as you can before you design. That way you don't run into big issues down the road.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple other questions before we wrap up. So Gabby is asking, and I know she's from United Way. She's asking, at what point do you as artists like to be brought into large scale mural projects?
I would say in the beginning, before decisions get made, it's always best when artists are involved, like right from the beginning. I've got into projects when the decisions have been made for like a year before they even put out like a call for entries or whatever, and those are challenging because there's so many minds and they have these visions of what they want, and then the artist comes in to offer a new perspective, of course, but then also to satisfy those pre-existing visions. So I always say, like, whenever possible, just jump in the earliest stages as an artist, because it really helps steer things in the right direction.
Yes, absolutely. Right in the beginning. I agree 100% with that. And Danny Ucida asked about what are the best practices for choosing paint, and does it change with different climates?
So best practices, yes, it does change with different climates. Always use exterior paint. That's like the number one, because if you're doing an outdoor mural, always do exterior paint. Indoor, because it's kind of confusing, and we had to learn that the hard way, where yeah, there's two different types of paint, essentially, interior and exterior. Exterior kind of has all the stuff that's okay to use with sun exposure.
It also
And
So it depends on what you're doing. So like obviously spray paint is another thing.
mhm.
We don't use spray paint, but there's plenty of spray paint like that is used for muraling. So if you go that route, there's obviously like 94M and Montana Gold. You're kind of like pretty like standard. But and then there's like mural paint. So like we use Nova as well. And Nova paint is a really good paint to use. That's a mural paint. But what we're talking about specifically with interior, exterior is like latex house paint.
Yeah.
If you use any of it.
Yeah, because you want to, the whole point into trying to figure out what paint to use is to try and minimize fading and peeling. So that's the most important thing you're trying to, and also I think molding, right? Like there's like
Sometimes you want a base coat with a house paint because it has built-in anti-mold properties. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for answering that. And Timothy also added, you know, the type of paint that he uses too. And Avelino.
I want to add something. What Josh said, was telling, like, first of all, you gotta make sure the surface before you paint is gonna be clean and peel it, scrub like super clean. If you can power wash it before, it's good. So that's gonna maintain the mural for a long time. And also the primer, like Joshua, is has to be a primer for exterior for houses. And after that, when you apply, you can apply all kind of paint that you want, special like water-based, but in the end, you have to seal it. That's for sure. You got to seal it to protect the mural.
Mhm.
That's it.
Thank you, Avelino. And I'm going to unmute Jesus Nunez, who helped out with, was an assistant for Timothy's mural. He wanted to share his perspective. So and he's going to unmute and chime in.
Let's see. Hello, everyone. I don't know if you can see me and hear me.
We can hear you.
Oh, let me see. Hold on just a second. Okay. Yeah. All right. Hello, everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces, and I just want to talk about a little bit about my experience. I had no clue that I was going to be a part of this. I mean, it was close to the starting point, and all of a sudden I get a message from Arsenio. Thank you very much, Arsenio, for that. And that's how I met Tim, or that's how I contacted Tim, because I met him at the presentation that you guys had about the project and the East side. And I talked to all of the artists there, but I had no idea that I was going to participate in two of the murals at the time. For me, it was a very, very, very good experience that I'm to this day, it's keeping me busy, and I'm very, very fortunate to have learned, because I've been very comfortable painting from my garage. And due to my little kids, I haven't ventured out in doing much of outdoor work. I have helped Jose Ortiz with some of the projects, but not this scale. So it was very important for me to see the procedure of how these different artists start their work, what they use, and it opened my eyes to see that I can do it once I'm ready with my family to work on something this big. But it was a great experience being a local, and then helping Tim trying to adapt to his style. Fortunately, I work with a lot of different styles, so it was easy for me to adapt to his style. So I hope I did some justice there. And then from that, I'm thankful to MJ, Josh. They've helped a lot. A lot of good advices too. And I didn't help as much as in the advanced stages, but I did help at the beginning, which was also a great experience to see how the different procedures, how Tim did his drawing versus how MJ and Josh, one using paint, the other one using markers. The projectors, I had no idea about the projectors. So everything, a lot of the things were very new to me, but thanks to that, I now have, I'm busy with projects. They were like a change reaction. I'm still working on a food truck. So if anybody has any questions about what the best paint is to work on metal for a lasting project, in this last months, I've learned so much about paint for working on metal. And also I have an indoor mural that I'm going to be doing for a farmers. It's a family that they have a big farming corporation. So I'm going to be working on their office doing an indoor mural. And everything is thanks to this project. So I'm very, very thankful. And I just want to tell the people out there that haven't worked on anything like this sometimes it's best to just jump on it. I mean, as long as you're confident in your ability. If you think about it too much, you may end up losing it. Like in the food truck, I had no clue. I have never worked on anything like this, but I felt confident in my abilities. So I just knew that I needed to learn about the paint, and it has been a great experience. So sometimes it's best to just jump on it and then adapt as the project goes. And like I've said, be confident on your work practice, and you will get it done.
Thank you so much, Jesus. Thank you for sharing about your experience. And I'm just going to put in the chat your Instagram handle, so because someone actually does have a question about paint for metal. So they can reach out to you on Instagram.
Yes, definitely.
Well, thank you all so much for participating in this conversation in our quarterly BusinessWorks. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us here at the Arts Council for Monterey County. You can email us at info@arts4mc.org. And to learn more about our organization, please find us at our website at www.arts4mc.org. And we are recording this. If you signed up, you will receive the recording, and also it will be on our website probably by next week. So I want to say special thanks to all of our muralists. Probably the last time I'm seeing you guys here, Timothy Robert Smith, MJ and Joshua Lawyer, the Neta Murals crew, those that are here today, Arsenio Baca, Avelino, and C. If you are local, there's an art battle going on tonight at 4 o'clock in Sand City, part of the We Create Murals, or We Murals. I can't get the title straight on that, but anyway, it's in Sand City here local. It should be a lot of fun. So thank you all so much. And I see a couple comments here. Corby's giving you guys a shout out, and we will see you guys soon. Thank you.
Yeah, and Arsenio is gonna be there. Arsenio is gonna be there in the art battle.
Yep.
and Jason Ramo. So if you guys want to join us, support.
Thank
Also,
you.
quick plug for the Miss Mural. There's an unveiling coming up in November, so keep your eye out for that. It's on the McCone Building on Pierce Street.
Thank you, Gabby.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everybody.